standing up for Canadian freedoms with us today? My name is Justin, and I am a representative to the Hamilton Yellow Vest Group. I have once had the pleasure of chasing Justin Trudeau out of the Labor Day parade in Hamilton, apparently having someone following behind him where he was walking with a megaphone exposing the fact that he is close personal friends with multiple convicted pedophiles is not a good public image, and Justin Trudeau, being the cowardly little weasel that he is, would rather get in his motorcade and leave the parade as fast as possible rather than answer my questions. As a Yellow Vest protester, we have been rallying against government corruption and to raise awareness about the destructive agenda of globalism in our successive governments for well over a year. Today will be the 75th consecutive week for the Canadian Yellow Vest protesters.
Yay!
In some countries like France, it's been longer than that. I want to thank everyone for coming out and supporting Canadian freedoms these last few weeks. Freedom is a precious and fragile thing that we as Canadians have always held dear to our hearts. Freedom is never more than one generation from extinction and has to be fought for and defended by every generation. If we as Canadians lose our freedoms and our sovereignty, we have no one to blame but ourselves. We have to strive to understand what our freedoms are and where did they come from. Our freedoms did not come from our government or some legislative words written on paper. Our freedoms come from God. They come from our Creator. They are natural rights that cannot be taken away from us by some authoritarian government. And make no mistake about it, our current government and its leaders have never been more authoritarian or tyrannical than it is today. Our freedoms in this great country have never been as jeopardized as they are today. As I said, there is a global agenda being played out before our very eyes. The people who control this agenda are pushing for a global government. This new one-world government will be forced upon us is a communist government with complete control over every aspect of our lives, centralized in the hands of few wealthy elites. These elites, such as Bill Gates and the Rockefellers, use their money and their influence to fund and control globalist agendas through proxy agencies such as the World Health Organization or the United Nations or the Council on Foreign Relations to lobby, or bribe as it should be called, our governments into selling off our freedoms, our resources, and our sovereignty away from us.
Yes.
I don't remember telling Harper it was okay to sell our sovereignty off to the UN. I don't remember being asked if I would like to help pay $595 million to CBC and other Canadian media organizations to lie to us and withhold the truth, glorify China's communist dictatorship, and demonize freedom-loving patriots who speak out in defense of their country. I don't recall giving Trudeau permission to open up our borders to ISIS militants or to disarm peaceful, lawful citizens of their guns. I never gave our government permission to demand we all stay on house arrest as our economy crumbles around us, and I highly doubt any of you did either. The government is supposed to work for us. They are representatives and they are supposed to listen to the people. We are their boss. We give them authority. And when they are not doing their job we elected them to do, we have the authority to fire and replace them. Since the days of the Magna Carta in the 12th century, we have had the right to remove our government if necessary. I believe it's long past due. In fact, I for one have no qualms about literally picking up and removing every politician in Parliament, physically removing them from our building and placing them in the trash dumpsters where they belong, just like the people of Iceland did in 2008 with their corrupt government officials. Arrest the international bankers who have defrauded our country and install a new government of people elected by us who will listen to our demands and respect our rights as sovereign people. If the government can write words on paper that effectively remove your rights, then you don't have rights, you have permissions. Only slaves ask for permission. I am not a slave. I am a free man. And as long as I don't infringe on your rights, I am free to do as I wish. When you isolate sick people, that is called quarantine. But when you isolate free and healthy people, that is called tyranny. In fact, it was a Liberal government staffer by the name of Mark Elias who recently tweeted his enthusiastic support to the idea of the government ordering the police to shoot people who defy these quarantine orders. That's us. The very fact that we have people in our government that is so high on authority that they believe they can do this to us in the first place is enough reason to not allow the government to disarm us. 10 to 15 years ago, if I were to stand here and say that there is a plan in place to have all of humanity microchipped like dogs or cattle through vaccines, then you would probably call me a crazy conspiracy theorist. Maybe some of you believe I am one now, but this is not some wild conspiracy theory. It is a documented plan that is fully supported and approved of by our governments and the UN. This plan is called ID 2020. ID 2020 is a documented agenda that you can find online. It spells out their globalist plans to implement and provide a digital ID for every human being on Earth. Now, this document doesn't specifically say what this digital ID is exactly, but it's in partnership with a company called Gavin. Gavin is a vaccine manufacturing company that was started and funded and controlled by the Gates Foundation. Keep in mind, Bill Gates has publicly stated that with the help of vaccines, he can reduce the world's population by perhaps 10 to 15%, and thinks that we should remain prisoners in our home until we can all be vaccinated and must have a vaccine certificate to be able to work and live our lives like it's Nazi Germany and the Gestapo would like to see your papers. What is a vaccine certificate, and how does it fit into their plans to give us all a digital ID? Why is a vaccine company even involved in any of this in the first place? These are questions that should be asked, and it's up to us to not only ask these questions, but to demand the answers to these questions. Because if there's one thing that is becoming more and more clear every day, it's the fact that our government is lying to us, and the mainstream news organizations are complicit in helping to bury their crimes. 2019 was a year of huge protests. Millions of people were practicing civil disobedience. A massive awakening is taking place, and multiple countries rose up in defiance of corruption and the loss of their freedoms. Millions of people were fighting police in riot gear using nothing more than bows and arrows and sticks and stones in Hong Kong alone. Ask yourself, where did they go? Millions more people in France were fighting for their freedoms. There was uprisings and protests against the Islamic regime, protests in Israel, protests against mandatory vaccinations in Italy. Canada's largest truck convoy traveled all across Canada to protest our governments for selling our energy sector out to globalist elites. Canada lost over 600,000 jobs last year before the lockdown. 2019 was the year of protest and civil disobedience, and a massive awakening. And then 2020 happened, and coincidentally, we get hit with this coronavirus, so-called pandemic. Well, SARS had a much higher death rate. Did we close down our economy for that? No. The city of Toronto threw a massive benefit concert. As of this morning, 4,569 people have unfortunately lost their lives to the coronavirus. It has a death rate of 0.1 to 0.2% conservatively. To put that into perspective, smoking claims 45,000 people's lives annually. The World Health Organizations and our governments have been wrong at every turn with every single prediction since the lockdown started. A few weeks ago, the government wanted to make claiming that the coronavirus may have come from a lab in Wuhan, China, illegal to speak about or to post about online. Mere days afterwards, the Attorney General of America publicly stated that there was plenty of evidence to suggest that it did in fact come from a lab in Wuhan, China. Sorry, one second. We don't know all the facts. The numbers don't add up. We are being told to trust the information being provided to us by China, the same country that still has never admitted to the Tiananmen Square massacre, and coincidentally, one of the only countries to profit immensely off this whole thing. Why is there reports that China is missing 21 million cell phone users? To question these things is only logical when there is so much at stake. Once the government takes rights away from its citizens in the name of a national emergency, they rarely ever give them back.
Right.
Whether you are pro-vaccine or against vaccines, the choice on what you can and cannot put into you or your child's body should be yours to make after a thorough and informed discussion with your doctor. The dangers of allowing the government the authority to mandate what can and cannot go into your bodies far exceeds the dangers of any virus that we have experienced. We are coming to a breaking point. Many Canadians have drawn a line in the sand. There is a point that we will not tolerate being crossed, and demanding we inject ourselves and our children with your untested and unproven vaccines, then I say it's time to remind our government who they work for. It's clear we can't rely on the police to enforce our laws. The RCMP has a file open on Justin Trudeau for funding Islamic extremist terrorists, thanks to the information that Tom Quiggin has provided them. If you don't know who Tom Quiggin is, please look him up. He is a court-certified terrorism expert. He used to work for CSIS in the RCMP. The RCMP have refused to investigate these claims or all the other laws that have been broken. It's up to us to demand justice. It's up to us to be our own media, because the news can't be trusted. And more importantly, in these times of hardship, it's up to us to help each other and support each other, because the government wants us weak, it wants us poor and dependent on them. So we will eagerly accept the loss of our freedoms in the name of safety. Those who are willing to sacrifice freedom for security deserve neither. Thank you for your time. I'm so very proud of all of you. And remember, the power of the people is greater than the people in power.
There you have it, folks.
Thank you.
Justin, given the Canadian message that everybody needs to hear. So have a nice Saturday, everybody, and remember, COVID-19 is a lie.